Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert with the Ted Show. Happy Friday. I'm here with my buddy Eric Wilson. Eric's here to talk about so much stuff, including Hearts, Hands, and Hope. Very excited to hear about this and hear about his journey. We've had a little bit of technical difficulty today, but we got to give a shout out to Darius for fixing it and figuring it out. Big shout out. So we are all excited to be here. It's a Friday. It's beautiful. And I'm thankful for you, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. All right, so we're big on journey, right? We want to know about Eric. We want to understand why we should love Eric, which you're going to love Eric. We want to know a background. We want to know history. So give them a little bit of that so that we can eventually figure out your journey and why we're here to talk about hope and feeding the children.
Right. You know, it's like always start with why. Why should you get up out of bed in the morning? Why should anybody care? So why? My why is a journey where I'd say let's start in 2010.
Okay.
Because that's really where it all happened for me. From 92 to 2010, I was pretty much climbing the corporate ladder, doing really well in broadcast media. I'm a certified broadcast meteorologist. We lived in Buffalo, Michigan, and Detroit. My son was born in Michigan. So now we're 2010 in Florida, and anybody who remembers anything about 2010, nothing was good. Everybody was being let go from television, construction.
That was a crazy time frame.
It was awful.
Crazy.
It was awful. And anyone doing my position, an on-air broadcast, making really good money, had to do it for a fifth of the cost.
Wow. See, I did not know that part until you said it earlier.
A fifth.
Yeah, that's
if you were lucky, you'd get a third, but how long would that last? At the same time, my dad died of pancreatic cancer.
I'm sorry.
2 things in 1 year. Then I lost my house, same year, 2010. Then I lost my property. We had $1 million of property. I lost my house in New York. I lost my house in Michigan, and we were literally wondering where we were going to be each morning. Same year. Every morning we would wake up. At the same time, we discovered our child had autism. And we pushed that back, like, you know, that's enough. Like, we've, you know, career change, whatever it's going to be, all your investments are gone, nobody's hiring, that's enough, right? And then your son stops talking.
What was the discovery process on that? We touched on a little bit before we went live. Well, I think a lot of people...
About autism.
Yes.
Okay.
What was the discovery process on figuring out, all right, I think that we need to have him tested?
Oh, we pushed it off. We were so against it. I realized we're talking about 12 years ago or 8 years ago. No, 10 years ago.
It's 10 years.
10 years ago.
I like the math, though. It's good today.
Oh, it just
It's
works.
my math. You're fine.
Starts high, then we go low, and then we settle in the middle.
We got it.
10 years ago, ADD was out. It seemed like a fad. You know, I had ADD. Didn't we all have ADD?
I think I still do.
Right.
Honestly, I do.
You know, and I wasn't going to give him this title because nobody wants to do that for your child. You don't want to handcuff your child, right? And say, okay, you know, he has special needs. My child's beautiful. He's my child, right? And my child is beautiful.
He is beautiful. I just saw a picture of him.
He's
beautiful.
He has such a giving, loving heart. However, he didn't quite understand how the world works. Now, it's called processing disorder, and this is the answer to your question. How do we find this out? We would ask him a question, and he would guess at the answer. And we're like, I don't think he gets the whole conversation process. And so we did not take him to get tested. We went to every herbalist, medalist, if they were running a little side shop, you know, we went there first. We're like, come on, give him a little medicine. And
did they all have answers? I'm fascinated by that.
They all said that this is going to be an interesting journey, but your son is special, and he is. And every parent, you have a daughter, you're a grandfather now.
That's correct.
They're all special,
They
and
are.
so nobody loves your child more than you.
That's true.
So when you watch them go through the public school system, fast forward, and you watch him get less and less out of it. And the teachers, God love the teachers, especially in the public school system, love them. They don't have the resources to help him.
They don't.
They got 28, 32 kids, and they're doing what they
They're
can.
hanging on for dear life.
They are.
It's crisis management and crowd control.
They are. So we had to do something. So I could not move around from place to place to place, chasing this dream of being on TV, which really it was. I loved being on TV.
Well, you're a natural, could you tell? I don't even know why I'm here for the interview. I like it. Makes my life easier.
It makes me look better. We have offsetting colors.
We do. We're red and bluish. I don't know what color that would be. You have on blue.
That's right.
I'm terrible about colors.
I'm just like very grateful that you're having us on the show. And my why literally was the year that my neighbor died. Her name is Rhoda Bohr. She was very big in local radio, and she was my next door neighbor. And she adopted us for 2 years. I waited every Sunday for her to drop off Winn-Dixie 2-for-1s. She would buy what she needed, and then if it was 2-for-1, I would get that. And that was probably the lowest point.
So you're
In 1 year.
actually, at that point, really dependent on her help.
Which brings up the gap, right? Why, if I'm working at Stanley Steamer, if I have a job, why do I not qualify for the help that's out there? Like, I was getting a lot of help in the first 2 years,
Right.
plus Rhoda, we were getting by.
Right.
And during the summer, there was no help. My son was on free and reduced lunch, which at the time was unheard of at the school that we were going to. It's like, you're on what? Free and reduced lunch?
Yeah.
It's like, that's a thing? It's like, oh yeah, that's a big thing.
It's a big deal.
That's 47% of Seminole County alone.
Wow.
And that's been a huge change in the last 10 years. So so much is changing so often that it sometimes feels like you're on this constant roller coaster ride. And you just kind of, you decide, there comes a point in your life where you're like, am I going to make millions for myself? Or am I going to, and this came to me in a dream, am I going to have some kind of impact in my life?
Yeah.
And it started with my son. I'm gonna have impact in his life. So I started the first of 3 businesses, right? And if you haven't failed at business, you're not trying hard enough.
I agree.
Okay? The first of 3 businesses. And I was like, I have to be a stay-at-home dad. I have to be in his life.
Right.
I have to, he needs me. I need him. I need to live in his world.
Right.
So how am I going to do that? My wife was like, okay, who's going to pay, like, let's say the mortgage, the bills, the food?
The minor things.
Yeah, how are we going to get all this done? And we were sitting, because we had nowhere to go and no money to go anywhere. And there was no assistance during the summer. So my wife came up with this heartshandsandhope.org. Her, Penny, Lincoln Lawson, and Michelle Desment, giving a shout out to you, because the 3 of you really took hold of this entire idea of do everything for everyone, everywhere, right? And you know that kind of focus is well intended,
Right.
but it doesn't go far.
No.
And they were amazing. And in 5 years, they focused it down to red bags for $25. It feeds a family of 4 for 2 days. Now, that backs up on the gap. Where's the gap? The gap came about self-discovery. I was the one in line. I had a job, and I was in line. I won't say where. There are 5 places in Seminole County you can go to between 3 and 5 on Thursday only. So you have to have transportation. I get there, and they said, fill out this form, and they're like, you have a job? And I'm like, yes, I do have a job, but it's not enough. And they're like, well, sorry, this is for people without jobs.
Is this a food pantry type place?
Are we?
No, is what you're talking about. You stood in line.
They are an amazing place.
I'm not talking about an organization. I'm just curious because I think people don't understand
The difference.
What he's talking about is first of all, he had to make sure he had transportation, which a lot of people don't. And then he only could go during a certain period of time. Well, if you're working 9 to 5 and you can only go 3 to 4 on a Thursday, then you have to take work off. There are so many challenges for people who are trying to get assistance, whatever level it is.
Right.
And that is the struggle that I hear
Yes.
from so many people. And understand, Eric's educated, big time newscaster, and he's dealing with this, and he's doing what he has to do for his family and trying to make it work. And we make it more difficult for him to try to get that assistance, and that's the part that makes my,
So rather than get
It's been-
upset about it, we came up with a solution,
which I love.
which is my wife's idea. She says, "Why don't we get a couple of grants?" Right? Not as easy said as
It's not as easy.
it isn't. And then they give you, "Hey, we're very grateful for all the grants that we get." However, after a while, you start realizing there are 36,172 children on free and reduced lunch. That means they've registered. That means their parents have to have jobs, and they have to be getting out 36,000 in Seminole County. So we're starting with the concept of, if we're going to make this a better world, we got to look at ourselves. We got to look at our backyard. And I live in Seminole County. So if I can get Seminole County out of this food dependency into independency, that's a difference. Because fighting hunger is like fighting breathing. I'm going to be hungry tonight. I'm going to be hungry a month from now. I'm not going to fight hunger.
Right.
You can't fight hunger.
Yeah.
It's the wrong fight.
It's the wrong fight.
The right solution is to feed people who are trying to get out of their situation, because they're the ones putting forth the effort.
So it came from a spot where you experienced it.
Yes.
And so you wanted other people to not have to experience it, which is also trial and error because your situation's different than everyone else's. So how did
Yeah.
you get to the red bags? How did you get to the point where you can feed a family of 4 for 2 days with a red bag? What was the process like? Because I think people go,
Sure.
oh, well, he was impacted, Eric and his family. So they got this bright idea, and then everybody bought into it. And red bags forever.
No.
And I think people don't understand that there's an entire amount of work, trial and error that goes into what you had to do.
Yeah, we would get bags, and then they would go away. So we'd come up with this idea with the red bags, is that why don't we put a little tag on them that says return them to the location that you picked them up from every Monday. We'll fill them during the week, and you can pick them up. If you're on free and reduced lunch and you're on the list, you get to take that home over the weekend for Saturday and Sunday. Now we're talking about a child and his family or her family that does not have to worry about the security of food. We've eliminated, I mean, we're talking air, water, food. If you don't have those three, there's no self-improvement. There's no going to school. There's no branching out, taking a chance on yourself. There's no, you're hungry.
It's not, you're starving.
You think I'm kidding? Go 3 days without food and see how foggy you are on the third day. And you've got food in the pantry. You can quit this little game anytime. These kids
Right.
don't. They come to school Monday foggy. They test poorly. Realtors can't get the numbers for their sellers because the schools down the street test poorly.
Correct.
They'll go up if the kids are fed. That's
It
proven.
and I think that it's such an easy thought process, just not necessarily an easy delivery, not an easy implementation.
Well, we made it easy.
Of course you did. So talk about that.
Okay.
You did make it easy, which is good. That's what
Thank
you
you.
need, because I think also a lot. I have a friend who was a principal of an elementary school locally,
Mhm.
and he said that some of the challenges too were the fact that they would give them things, and then the kids were embarrassed by the stereotypes. So you have to, and so they would find some of the items scattered up and down the road if they walked home or went to the bus.
Yes.
Instead of them taking it home, it was easier for them not to be labeled as a kid who needs help. And so you've
Right.
got all this, you've got all of this stuff you have to take into consideration when you're creating what you're creating.
So what we did is we made a central spot where most of the need was, so that when moms and dads could, in between jobs that they were working, stop by, pick up their kids, drop them off at grandma's, because the homeless, there's 1,800 reported homeless, but homeless, when you break it down, they're living with grandma, they're living with Uncle Sal, they're not really under the bridges. I mean, you're not going to see 1,800 people in
Correct.
Seminole, but they're registered homeless because they don't have a home which is hard because if you don't have a home, you can't go to school and get free and reduced lunch.
Right.
So the gap, we had to really, going back to Hearts, Hands, and Hope and how did you make it easy, we had to really say, okay, there's poor, and then there's the working poor.
Yes.
And this is our biggest chance to reduce food insecurity, is to feed these people, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts, our uncles, is to feed them every weekend so that they can start thinking with a clear head. And we drop it off. There's no taking it home from school. And over the summertime, there's no embarrassment because you're swinging by and you're picking it up.
Correct.
And it looks like just another bag.
Right.
And it has had 2 years of incredible success. It's the only one of its kind. My wife is brilliant. Only one of its kind. She is. And very tolerant. She's 20 years. We've been married.
She's been in 20 years.
She
hasn't served her time yet.
That's right. And today's her birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Love you, honey.
That's amazing.
So she's so good. I got kicked off the board because I kept telling them, look, we need to grow.
Right.
We're not making a bigger impact. We need to make a bigger impact. And they're like, fine, go ahead. You do it. You go, find the bigger money. You go find the sponsors. So on our website, I give you 3 choices. You can sponsor a child for 1 weekend a month for $24. That's that bag. You feed him 1 weekend. That means he goes hungry 3 weekends. So the middle choice is you feed him every month for a year. Set it and forget it. It's $24 a weekend. I'll spend that after this interview here at lunch.
It's true.
Right? So we go to it's a kind Robin Hood thing. We're not upsetting the people with the goods, but you'll find that the people with the ability to help are confused. They don't know where it's going. They don't trust bigger organizations. They want to give. They're very grateful. They're very spiritual.
Agreed.
They understand the give and the Go-Givers, a very popular book written a while
They
ago.
do understand. Local, organic,
Giving.
like you are doing that's where people want to be. Most of the time when I will have a big box type of organization on the show, it's a challenge because people will say, well, I don't even know where my money goes. They're not making an impact locally, even though they are, but you don't know that, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't come and say, well, Eric started it, here's how this happened. Eric and his wife started it. That's something that people are really, really finding more appealing when they want to give their time, want to give their money, want to help out an organization. So I love that.
Did you know, like we were talking about the millennials earlier,
Yes.
that 4 out of 5 times, all things being equal, they do their research these days.
They do.
And they're like, who are you giving to?
Yeah.
United Way? That's a good organization. I'm not going to down talk any organization.
Right.
But where's that money going?
Right. They want to know, and they should. I think we should all have some sort of accountability when we're talking about what we're giving our money to and what's important to us. And if you want to give to an organization that's important to you, you want to know how that's impacting the people you're trying to impact.
Impact is the word.
Yeah.
It's the word of 2020.
It is.
How is my life impacting yours? How is my legacy impacting those who come behind me?
Correct.
Impact. So impact is measured by hunger. Again, that's like eliminating breathing.
Right.
What we're doing is we're making people going from dependency to independency, and the pride that comes from that. Dependency, insecurity is really what it is. Food insecurity. I'm insecure about my next meal. Thank you for Thanksgiving. Thank you for Christmas, and thank you for Easter. However, we eat as often as you do. We're human beings, right?
Right.
If we can eliminate 30%, I believe we've achieved our goal, and we can repeat, as a scientist, we can repeat our model over and over and over again, and it can be repeated worldwide. And then, I have to stop because Michelle's like, okay, visions of grandeur, Gandhi. All right,
yes.
just
So
stop.
tell us how
just
people
stop.
can get involved. No, I like
Yes,
the
sir.
vision
Yes, sir.
because people need to know the why, like you said, and what you're thinking and what your goals are.
Yeah.
Again, because people are researching so much more about where they give and how they give.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about what people can do.
Yes.
We're going to back down the visionary, Michelle. Tell us what people can do in order to get involved to help you make an impact.
I rebuilt the website. On the website, at the very top of the page, is how you can help. There are 3 ways. You can give on the weekends, during school, and you can give to the summer food program, which means they get fed every day when they're off from school. The kids that are not looking forward to summer break are the ones on the free and reduced lunch.
Talk about, I
And
love
so-
to cover this. Talk about
right.
summer really quick because people
Sure.
don't understand why that's different. Think about it, guys. I'll let you tell it.
No, go ahead.
No,
I
my
wanna know how-
experience.
yeah.
My experience is, remember. So if they're getting a free and/or reduced lunch during the school year, where does that go? Sometimes that's their only meal. And so where does that? What happens when you're not in school? You don't even have that single meal that they are looking forward to. That sometimes is the only nutrition, the only food that they get. So summer is really summer vacations, all that stuff, really critical when you're talking about feeding kids who are dependent, who need that. Their families need that.
They're hungry.
They're hungry.
And I would, when I was in this position, I would do anything to feed my child. I would do
Sure.
anything to feed my wife. I will do anything.
Right.
And that's what you see during the summer. Crime goes up.
Yes.
And why? They're hungry. So what we do is we literally, all you have to do is check, and I call it set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
I mean, how many times we pay off our credit or, credit card? I don't know how many apps my son has downloaded. Okay? Or how to get them off my phone or paying for them. But that's literally one way of helping.
Right.
The second way of helping is if you're a large company and you've got large money, these are large dollar bills. This is the only way we don't do food drives. Okay?
Right.
Food drives are well intended, they go to the right place, but that is too much of this organization's time.
Right.
Because we buy the food specifically over the summer. There are 4 different weeks that we fill. So 1 week you get a protein, it's tuna. Second week you get a second protein. Third and fourth, all by a nutritionist. So they're getting nutrient-rich food.
That's awesome.
They're coming back to school ready to learn, knowing they're going to be fed also over the weekend because you're one of the ones that are, selecting the second one. So that's how to eliminate food insecurity. So there's the why, there's the gap, the working poor, and the summer food program. And new this year is we're doing what's called the rolling food program. When something's working, you just double it, right?
Of course you do.
And so that's the rolling food program, and we're starting, and we're getting more and more locations. We have a tremendous amount of volunteers. We love our volunteers. At the very top line, above the Hearts, Hands, and Hope logo, is how you can contact us, how you can email us, how you can volunteer, and how you can donate all over that place. How you can
Because
donate.
that's where it's at. Like, obviously, time is important. You need volunteers.
Yes.
But we're midway. We're almost done with the school year. We're March, right?
March,
We end
yep.
in June. We have 3 months
We've
left.
got spring break coming up.
We've got spring. Think about that, guys. Spring break, winter break,
7
Christmas
days.
break, holiday break, whatever you want to call it. Those guys the kids don't get the meals.
No.
So we have to have a service. We have to have Hearts, Hands, and Hope to help them out, because otherwise, what are they going to do? There's no food. You can't just make food materialize. I think people don't realize, like you said earlier, very powerful. You might think you could go 3 days, but you still have the food in your cabinet that you can get to.
It's like a diet.
The kids don't. They don't have it. There's nothing there for
Yep.
them to get.
Yep.
So that is so taxing on your brain, your mind, your body, your soul, your thought processes. And you have to really, really dig deep and understand that. Think about that. That's a kid who's going through it. Not just the family, but the kid. The kid's trying to figure out how to make it through the world as it is.
Can I leave you
Please.
on a warm, fuzzy note?
We leave on a warm, fuzzy note. I like it.
We drop these bags off, and the kids. We never see the kids. It's a very controlled program. So in our latest video, we have finally testimonials of moms who came on camera and said what it's like to get these bags. One mom said to us, "They don't like spaghetti." I'm like, okay. It's a texture thing. I have an autistic child, and I understand.
You understand it.
It's like, okay, you don't like, but everyone's getting spaghetti this week. You know what they do? So they go downstairs and they tell their friends about this program, and they're like, here's some spaghetti. True story. I can't make this up. Kids are learning this is like, feed thy neighbor kind of stuff.
Sure.
And
Charitable. They're learning how to be charitable.
at an early age. That'll last. They're thinking of, you know what? There is hope out there.
Yeah.
There are people thinking about us. We're not alone.
Right.
And I can do the same right now, even though I'm not in the penthouse and even though I'm where I'm living. I can take the food I don't want and I can go give it to my neighbor who I know is just as hungry as I am.
I love it. That's beautiful. All right. So,
Thank you.
Hearts, Hands, and Hope. We're going to share all of Eric's contact information, how you can reach out to him. You want to get involved. I want you to get involved. It's coming time, spring break, summer. Let's get involved and help them out. So we're big on mentorship. I know you are doing so much in your community to mentor these kids and these families. That's really a part of it, which is what you mentioned earlier. Can you give a shout out to somebody who's mentored you, some people maybe who have helped you?
Okay, I have always wanted to do this, and
Okay, good.
I'm very grateful for your platform, and I'm going to make sure that he sees this. Mark Gellner is a very kind businessman. He's the one I mentioned, Stanley Stammer.
Yes.
He's the one, when my son broke his arm, I had no job, I had no health care. I went in for an interview, and he looked at me, and he's like, you don't want to, why are you here?
Right.
And then I told him, and he said, he hired me that day.
Wow.
My son was seen that night, and I am forever grateful to Mark Gellner, and I will spend the rest of my life paying back what was done to me by Rhoda Borer, who's no longer with us, and Mark Gellner, who showed me what it's like to be a good boss. People don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
They absolutely do.
And he's number 2 in the country for that reason. He will always stick in my mind. So thank you, Mark, even though I haven't talked to you in probably 10 years.
Oh, the thank you so good. It's cathartic for you. It's so good for him to hear. It's good for people to hear.
Yeah.
That even people who have gone through the journey you have people who have helped you along the way. Thank you. You're a joy to have on, my friend.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys. Sorry we're a little late. We love you. Have a beautiful weekend. Hearts, Hands, and Hope. Go to the website. Go donate. Get involved. We love you.